Welcome to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam.
Emily, and now we will have a switch to data and AI. Please welcome to the stage Emily from Moonpay.
Yeah? Oh, okay. That's
You
good.
just have to, I think you can use
Just
this
use this? Yep, nice.
So,
Okay.
check it out if it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Check, check. Thanks. Oh, the crowd's thinning out. Really encouraging here. All right. In any case, hi, everybody. Welcome to my talk. I'm talking about opportunity sizing today. So one of the benefits of blockchain technology is that we are essentially transforming how we think about data, right? Everything that's on chain. We're thinking about privacy protocols. That's a theme of this weekend, in fact, right? And it's no longer being held by, well, this is the dream. It's still being held by only a handful of companies today. But the dream, of course, is to not have that. And that also means then that we have a lot of opportunities for us. So what we're trying to do here is actually who runs their own company or who is part of a startup? Great. Okay. And others are, I guess, part of a company, or you just... Okay, cool. Makes sense. Just checking. Yeah, so as everyone understands, you know, when you're trying to get people onto the protocols, onto the networks, onto using crypto in general, whether that's, you know, through privacy protocols or for whatever use case that there is, we are trying to get to critical mass. And that is so difficult, right? I think everyone here has faced those problems, and it's very common. I think we just had a talk in which, you know, 0.5% of the American population, never mind the whole world, which is probably a lot smaller, are on crypto, and that means that we have 99.5% of the population to go. So we can wax poetic all day about the theoretical and ideal states of the technology, but it is developing at a breakneck speed. And how do we ensure that we're working on the most impactful opportunities to solve real world problems? So the framework I'm going to present today, full disclosure, is pretty simple, but that's also its beauty. And the way I really want everyone to start thinking about it is, you know, how can you start to deploy this within your own company, within your own initiatives, within your own projects, etc. I think one of the things that we have a problem with in some sense within crypto is that, you know, the technology, like I said, is moving so fast. AI is also coming in, which is also equally moving just as fast. And so how do we make decisions equally quickly to make sure that we're solving the real world problems that are presented before us and not just chasing shiny new things? I'm looking at you like PFP NFTs. So I present to you this framework here. All examples here refer to net revenue. Oops, sorry. What? Okay, it's going backwards. Anyway, but you can modularize this to whatever your net North Star is. So some of you, actually, could I have a little more interaction here? So what is the North Star for your company, for those of you who are working in companies or otherwise? Go for it.
People that consume the data via the API.
Okay, yeah. Number of people, basically, the number of users, essentially, was coming down to it. Yeah, so this applies to everything, right? It can apply to net revenue, it can apply to users, it can apply to safety and security metrics of a whole number of kinds. So feel free to replace with whatever your North Star is with revenue, where I've said revenue here. So in any case here, we want to estimate the impact of doing something. And this is, again, very important to make sure that we're not sort of, going on these tangents and kind of chasing these shiny pies in the skies. Let's see. Why opportunity sizing? So again, this is a framework that allows us to really understand, are we doing this because we have a feeling about it? I want to actually get a show of hands. Who is a coder here? I presume a lot of people. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, who vibe codes? Actually, that's a whole thing, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of things that we do are based on vibes, and that's also the spirit, and that's also fun, right? We're like, hey, that's so cool. Let me go ahead and do that. But here I'm trying to present to you a way to frame the work that you're doing, so that you're not just sort of vibe coding and then it goes into the ether. which we've all experienced before, and then in this case on Ethereum, pun intended. And we're not just sort of like letting it go, you know, and seeing that it doesn't do anything. So again, we want to also we don't want to misallocate resources. So again, how many people are in companies that are less than 50 people? Okay, quite a few. Yeah, 100 people. Okay. So quite small. And so with less than 50 people, you need to mobilize around things with focus, right? You can't just have 50 people running off and doing 50 things at the same time. So again, this framework is to help everyone understand, even individuals on teams or individuals within organizations and companies, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a project manager, et cetera, you know, to make sure that, yeah, you are kind of going all in the same direction towards that North Star that we were just talking about. So this is probably very similar. I think, so reading these here, let me just say, like, improve feature X because an investor wanted that. Who is familiar with this? Cool. Yeah, great. Yeah, a lot of this is very familiar, I'm sure, to everybody, right? I mean, fix bug Y, it's been a while. Tech debt, we all are super familiar with that. And a lot of times we sweep it on the rug. We're like, okay, we don't have time now, etc. But of course, you know, this is another way, again, to think about how you can frame that so that you can understand, is this something we really need to address today? Or indeed, can we just kick the can down the road? That's totally fine, by the way. You know, sometimes we just have to have a healthy amount of tech debt, and that's totally okay. So this is basically what this framework will end up with you doing, is creating a list of all the initiatives you want to do and stack ranking them by, again, your North Star. In this case, I've used revenue. And you're easily able to see, okay, so in my example here, expand feature Z to Mars. Martians are high-value customers with $50,000 in net revenue per year. Expanding feature Z would mean we get 100 incremental Martian customers per year, which means 5 million in net revenue incrementally. That goes to the top of the list. Fix bug Y, which we were just talking about, right? Bug Y is broken. Okay. What we're doing here is that we're losing actually $3 million in net revenue because we have this bug. So what we're doing is, okay, we're probably not going to fix all of the bug, but fair enough. What it ends up doing is we have an estimated incremental $2.7 million per year. That goes on number 2, and et cetera, et cetera. So now you have a very clear way of understanding what are the things we need to focus on today. What do we need to backlog? And also what you can do with this list is go through systematically. You can say, hey guys, especially for all of you in smaller companies, say this week or this sprint, whatever you want to call it, we are doing number 1. We're going to do number 1 because it's going to get us $5 million in revenue. If we knock off number 1, or if we work in parallel potentially, depending on how big your company is and how many resources are at your disposal, then you can move on to number 2, and so on and so forth. Eventually, the ideal state is, of course, that you get to a place in which, you know, all the things are kind of knocked off, and you can have some room and time and space in order to, or resources, that's also another option, in order to hit some of the ones at the bottom of the list. But that's basically what we're trying to get at. So how do we do this? I already think I've covered when, which is whenever you feel like it. No, but it's really kind of in the strategy and planning cycle. And it is something that I think that a lot of developers, including myself, are very prone to not doing, right? We're sort of like, oh my gosh, this is a problem today, right now. I don't have time to think about this in the way that I need to, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Fast forward, sunk cost fallacy, you go down a rabbit hole, you know, 1 sprint, 2 sprints, even more than that sometimes. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, what did this get me? I'm not actually sure. And especially, like I said, in crypto and in AI spaces where the technology and the industry are moving so quickly, that's a lot of lost time. That is a lot of lost revenue or a lot of lost users, whatever, again, the North Star metric that you want to attach yourselves to. So there are 3 opportunity sizing methods that I recommend, and they're all listed here. So they're very basic and very simple. They don't even require they don't even require, you know, calculus or anything sophisticated of that kind. It really is about making simple arithmetics to understand, is this something that is worth doing, or is this something that that we, again, can sort of put on the backlog and make sure that we do address at some point, but not necessarily right now or today. There's different types of rigor that one can have. A lot of this is also beneficial within crypto because we do have a lot of on-chain data at our disposal, right? So especially the top downsizing, which I think is a lot of the cases of what we're dealing with in the crypto space. We're going into these areas in which we've never been before, that no one has been before. How do we understand, how big the opportunity is? And right now, what you can do is look on-chain data. Even on the more like private protocols, et cetera, there's a lot of metadata that you can also still use to right size, like, okay, how many transactions, even if you don't know the details of the transactions on that chain or on that protocol, have been happening in the past year, let's say. Is it worth it for me to kind of go into this space, or is it not, and so forth? So I'm not going to go too much into detail because I have an eye on the time, literally. I want to make sure, that everyone kind of gets it very generally. So directional t-shirt sizing is really about, as it implies, directional t-shirt sizing. It's very much about very rough estimates in both directions. You have both internal data as well as external data at your disposal, and you can make a really sort of general idea of where you want to go and how this is going to affect your North Star metric. Bottom-up sizing is primarily used by internal data. So this is indeed something around, for example, improving your conversion rates or improving your ROI on your marketing spend, as an example, very basic ones. And this is very doable by using mostly internal data. You might need to pull from a couple of external sources, as we have in this example, but mostly you can do this in-house, and it doesn't require as much lift as some of the other methods. And then, like I said, top-down sizing is very much about using as much external data as possible, making some assumptions here and there. Assumptions are going to be part and parcel of it. The fact of it is that opportunity sizing is as much of an art as much as it is tech, or like as much as it is a science. So in this case, you want to make sure that you are understanding, with the spaces that you're going into. And of course, it allows you to really sort of do a lot of research in that area and make sure that, you are solving the problems that are presented to you and that you're, again, not chasing a pie in the sky. So there are some limitations. Like I said, it is not perfect, but that's totally fine, right? I mean, how many people on a daily basis make a lot of macro, micro decisions? I think everybody probably does. And so it is really just for you to help yourself as well as your company and whoever you're working with to understand this is the direction we want to go in. This is why we're doing this, because the why is extremely important, right? If we don't know the why, we're never going to get to success because everyone's sort of going towards a different definition of what that is. And that is not usually the most productive nor the most performative. And so that is something to definitely keep in mind. And yeah, so essentially, that's basically where it is. If you want to implement this framework, super easy, especially for those of you in small companies or solo entrepreneurs with very, very small teams. You can do this tomorrow or with your next idea immediately. And again, even if it's not perfect, even if at the end you say, you know what, we did this and it didn't get us to exactly what we had estimated, at the absolute least, you do know that you oriented your resources and your thinking and strategy around the value of what that could have been. And that's pretty much it.